Travel has changed a lot in 2020, and Dave and I have actually taken our very first trip in 8 months to Saint Lucia. Some Caribbean islands are opening for tourism, and Saint Lucia is welcoming visitors with careful planning, regulations, and a few restrictions. Here are our tips for what to expect when traveling during COVID-19. Like all of you out there, we were really nervous about traveling for the first time. I was nervous about getting on the plane and sitting beside somebody. I didn't know what to expect at the airport. I thought that I'd be surrounded by crowds of people. So I was a little apprehensive, but we wanted to actually finally get out there and travel and let people know what it's going to be like, because I think this is going to be around for a year or so, even with the vaccine.
When deciding on where to go, there's some things that we were really concerned with. And we wanted to make sure that the destination that we were going to was going to cover everything that we thought would make this trip safe for us. So there's a few things that we want to outline that you should do before you actually even choose a destination, and some information that you should have on hand, some processes that you will have to go through before you even get on a plane.
The very first thing that we had to do when traveling to Saint Lucia was take a COVID test. I think this is really important whether a country requires it or not. I think it's your responsibility to make sure that you don't take a disease with you when you travel around the world. Well, we are going traveling for the first time in like 10 months.
Yeah.
And what do we have to do before we go traveling?
Well, we have to get a COVID test, so that's what we're doing today.
I'm not looking forward to having that thing go up my nose.
No, me either. We'll let you know what it's like.
Okay. And there's our COVID assessment center. I don't think we're allowed photos in there, so this is it. How was it, Dave?
Well, it was actually not as bad as I thought it would be. Up the nose, a little tickle, a little bit of a burn. Kind of makes my eyes water, but other than that, not too bad at all.
After our COVID test, we continued to socially distance at home to minimize the risk of contracting the virus before our flight. One big tip is to purchase all your food beforehand, as in Canada, we have a mandatory 2-week quarantine when we get back from our travels. We had our food delivered and we stocked up our pantry, getting the appropriate amount of junk food and coffee. Lots of coffee. So be prepared to go directly home from the airport. The government does check on you with phone calls, and you have to check in daily with the app. You are not allowed to leave your property for 14 days or have any visitors, so make a plan.
It's really important to look on the destination's website to find out A, what kind of COVID tests you need, and B, how far in advance you can get it. Some places you just need it 72 hours before you go, and some places are maybe 7 days. It varies with each destination, so make sure that you check that so that you get your results back before you go in time.
So if you do have to do travels, take a COVID test, make sure you self-isolate before and after that COVID test, and avoid seeing people until you get on the plane so you know that you're not taking any disease with you. Now, when it came to flying, it was not the big scary thing that I thought it was going to be. We got into the airport and you have to wear a mask as soon as you enter. You can't just wear a buff. You can't just throw on a shirt around your face. It has to be a proper mask. Yep. And before you go through security, they take your temperature.
And then going through security is obviously a lot slower process. So a few things that I've noticed here in the Toronto airport is that the terminal itself is quieter. Security is really busy, unfortunately. People are trying to do their best at social distancing, but it is a lot of people. A lot of things are closed in the airport, as well as only people who have tickets can actually come in. So, or if you're a passenger, so nobody else. So there's a few things that are different here. Masks are mandatory, as well as you have to sanitize your hands. They've done a good job at actually placing hand sanitizing stations all around the airport. So it's definitely different for sure, and something we just might have to get used to.
Well, it's much busier than I thought it would be in here. I was expecting it to be dead, but it actually seems like business like usual. Before COVID, I've seen the airport this busy before, so people are traveling. I'm surprised. Be sure to pack everything you need for your trip because it's not as easy to grab forgotten items before you fly.
Lots of stuff closed here at the airport. It's a different experience.
Make sure to eat and stock up on food for the flight at the airport, or pack your own because there won't be regular service. Even the airport was running on limited capacity. The lounge is closed. Wah, wah.
So I would recommend definitely give yourself extra time. We gave ourselves 2 hours and basically just made it. So if you are flying internationally during COVID, make sure you give yourself at least 3 hours so you're not rushing.
Our flight was quite empty and comfortable, but some airlines are not keeping the middle seat clear, so keep that in mind when booking tickets.
So one of the cool things on Air Canada is they give you a Clean Care Plus kit, which has hand sanitizer, water, a fresh face mask for the flight, some headphones, and alcohol wipes. Perfect.
We brought our own wipes to wipe down everything at our seats before takeoff, and we regularly sanitized our hands. They don't serve food on the flight, so be sure to buy your own before you get on the plane. Drinks are now served in individual containers, and we're glad we brought food for the 5-hour flight, but wish we packed some from home rather than splurging on the expensive airport food. For us when traveling, we really liked the idea of Saint Lucia because they have very strict standards on the island. They only have certain hotels that are open, and they all had to be COVID certified to make sure that they are compliant with all of the rules and regulations. They've given us a little COVID care package with hand sanitizer, and these are super nice. This is like, I'm taking this home with me. So you really are quite safe traveling to Saint Lucia. You have to get your COVID test before you arrive, and there's a lot of paperwork you go through at the airport. And then when you arrive at the resort, you have your temperature checked before you come in. And then once you check in, you go straight to the nurse's station to have a little physical examination. So it's excellent. You feel nice and safe, and we're ready for the week.
So we're here at the nurse's station. We have to fill out some questionnaires and some forms, and just to make sure that we're all COVID-free while we're staying here.
There's only certain excursions that are opened, and there are only certain hotels. And I've really been impressed with how everybody has been following the rules.
Yeah, you also have to take COVID certified transportation. So although it's obviously a lot more limiting than if you had come here, pre-COVID, they're really taking health and safety really serious. And that's just one of the reasons why Saint Lucia appealed to us as a destination, is that we wanted to come to a place where we didn't feel we were wondering the whole time whether we were safe or not.
One of my biggest concerns is giving something to someone else. So I think that they're really taking care of the employees and workers on the islands as well. They're making sure that there are hand sanitizing stations wherever you go. Whenever you are in public, you have to wear your mask. You're allowed to take it off when you're on the beach or when you're in the pool or once you sit down at your table and you're stationary. But they always tell you have to wear a mask, and that is mandatory.
No, and there's hand sanitized stations all around the 2 different hotels that we stayed at. And also there's signs everywhere just sort of reminding you of social distancing, as well as reminding you to always wear your mask. So you're constantly reminded, so there's no excuse in forgetting. Another reason so you can't, as an international traveler, you can't come here and rent a car. Because obviously that gives you free reign to go wherever you are. You have to use the COVID certified transportation for now. So basically you get to come here and see the best of Saint Lucia, but in a controlled environment.
When traveling during COVID, you want to make sure that you choose destinations that are safe and low risk and approved by the CDC. Here in Saint Lucia, there's a lot of guidelines. You have to take a COVID test before you come. You have to practice social distancing your entire time you are there. Whenever you go to public places, you need to wear a mask. If you can social distance and you're outside, you don't have to wear a mask at all. So that's the great thing, because you're spending a lot of time by the pool. Walking to the restaurants, you get your temperature checked.
How does it look?
All right. So it's a really nice way to be safe. just look at the local government websites and see what's open and what you can do, and what the countries that you're visiting, what the protocols are for COVID-19. So those are our tips for flying and traveling during COVID. I know not everybody is ready to travel, and I know not everybody should be traveling. We have to stay safe and go to only places that are welcoming and encouraging visitors. Just make sure that you do it safely.
So if you have to travel, or if you want to travel, make sure you follow the rules and make sure you stay up to date on all the rules, because they are constantly changing.
If you enjoyed these travel tips, be sure to subscribe to our videos and click the bell for notifications, because we put up new travels each week.